It was a peaceful evening on Earth. Families spent time in their homes, playing with pets, enjoying dinner, and laughing together. Children were playing in the parks with their dogs, while others sat with their cats, watching TV or reading books. The sky above was clear, the stars beginning to appear in the early night, and everything seemed just like any ordinary evening. Life was calm, and the world felt at peace. But that peace was about to be shattered in an instant. Without warning, a massive ship appeared in the sky. At first it was just a shadow, blending into the dark sky. But soon, its enormous size became undeniable. It was no ordinary ship. This was something beyond anything humans had ever seen. Cloaked in a shimmering force field, the ship hovered silently over Earth's cities, a symbol of alien technology far beyond humanity's own. The sudden appearance of this unknown craft sent shockwaves through the world, leaving millions of people frozen in awe and fear. Then the horror began. In the dead of night, as families slept unaware, the aliens activated their beam weapons. These beams, glowing with an eerie, almost hypnotic light, reached down from the ship, targeting homes and cities all around the world. They didn't attack the humans, but rather, they focused on something much more personal: our pets. One by one, dogs, cats, birds, and other beloved animals were snatched from their homes, lifted into the air, and dragged into the alien ship, disappearing without a trace. The streets were filled with chaos as people woke up, startled by the strange lights and sounds. Pets vanished, leaving behind empty cages, broken collars, and bewildered families. No one understood what was happening. How could this be possible? Why were the pets being taken? And most importantly, who was behind it all? The Earth's government scrambled to respond. Military forces were quickly deployed, and scientists raced to figure out what kind of technology the aliens were using. Communication satellites were hacked, and broadcasts went out to the world, showing people the alien ship hovering ominously over their cities. People were terrified, not knowing what these aliens wanted or why they were doing this. The first contact with the aliens came the following morning. The world watched as a cold, emotionless voice echoed through televisions and radios. It was the voice of the Galactic Empire, a powerful alien force that had set its sights on Earth. The announcement was clear and chilling. They had come to Earth to take the animals for research. The creatures, they said, were to be studied, experimented on, and dissected to understand the biology of Earth's life forms. They claimed it was for the advancement of science, but their tone was dismissive, as if the lives of these animals meant nothing at all. The response from humanity was one of shock and disbelief. For generations, pets had been more than just animals. They were family. To have them treated like mere specimens was unthinkable. People across the globe felt a deep anger rising within them. These aliens had taken something that humans loved and cherished, and they would not get away with it. Despite the Galactic Empire's cold, calculated tone, it was clear that the aliens had underestimated the power of human emotions and the will to protect what mattered most. The Earth's leaders wasted no time. A message was sent to the Galactic Empire. Earth would not stand idly by. In the most dramatic act of defiance, humanity declared war. The abduction of the pets was not just a crime, it was an insult, and the humans would make sure the Empire knew the cost of underestimating them. Amidst this global crisis, a man stepped forward. He was the commander of Earth's military forces, a seasoned officer who had seen war before, but never anything like this. Commander Ethan Drake. He was known for his calm under pressure and his unshakable determination. But this was different. Ethan wasn't just fighting for his planet. He was fighting for his beloved dog, Max, who had been taken in the night along with so many other pets. Max wasn't just a pet. He was family. The bond between them was unbreakable, and the thought of Max being experimented on filled Ethan with a burning desire for vengeance. Ethan had lost comrades in battle before, but this was personal. This wasn't a fight against an army or a government. It was a fight for everything that made Earth human. The Galactic Empire had chosen to pick a fight with the wrong species, and they were about to learn what happens when you provoke humanity's fiercest instinct, the will to protect. In the quiet moments before the storm, Ethan stood alone, looking at a picture of Max. The dog's eyes, full of loyalty and trust, stared back at him from the photo. Ethan clenched his fists, his jaw tightening as he swore to bring Max, and all the other pets, home. This was no longer just a mission. It was a crusade. He would not rest until the Galactic Empire had paid for what they had done. He turned away from the picture and walked to the command center, where the entire world was watching. The eyes of billions were on him. As the leader of Earth's military, the weight of this mission was heavy. But he knew that humanity's strength came not from its technology or weapons, but from its heart. Humans fought for what mattered. They fought for each other, and they fought for their pets. "Prepare the fleet," Ethan said, his voice steady, despite the fury burning inside him. "We're going to make sure they understand what happens when you mess with Earth." As the days passed, Earth's military forces began to mobilize. Ships and weapons were readied. The people of Earth were ready for war, not because they sought it, but because they had been forced into it. They would not let the Galactic Empire steal what was theirs. The world united for a single purpose: to retrieve their pets and bring justice to the stars. In the face of overwhelming odds, Earth had declared war, and there was no turning back. The hum of machinery echoed through the command center of Earth's most advanced warship, the Retribution. The sleek, black vessel was an engineering marvel, a product of humanity's best scientists and engineers. Yet, as it sat in Earth's orbit, ready to embark on a mission that would change the fate of the galaxy, its sleek exterior did little to mask the tension inside. Commander Ethan Drake stood before a massive holographic display, showing the layout of the Galactic Empire's stronghold. The Empire had built its power base deep in the heart of their territory, a place where no human had ever ventured. Ethan's mind raced as he thought about the challenge ahead. This would be no simple mission. This was a fight against an enemy that had far superior technology and resources. Yet despite these overwhelming odds, humanity had no choice but to strike back. The Galactic Empire had stolen their pets, their loved ones, and their honor. This wasn't just about winning a war. It was about proving to the galaxy that humans could not be underestimated. Ethan's plan was audacious. He intended to take the fight directly to the heart of the Empire, to their home base. The Retribution was humanity's last hope. But it wasn't just a warship. It was a symbol of human determination. The crew aboard the Retribution was composed of Earth's finest soldiers, engineers, and scientists, all united by a singular goal: to bring back their pets, to bring back their families, and to show the Empire that Earth was not to be trifled with. "Everyone is aware of the risks," Ethan said, his voice steady as he addressed the crew. "We're heading into enemy territory. We're outnumbered, and we're outgunned. But we fight with something they can't match: heart. We fight for the ones we love. We fight because we are human, and nothing will stop us from getting our loved ones back." His words, while powerful, did little to quell the uncertainty that hung in the air. The crew knew the risks. The Retribution was a warship, yes, but it was still human-made, and facing an alien empire with unimaginable power was a challenge that no amount of advanced technology could guarantee success against. The tension in the air was palpable. Everyone aboard the Retribution knew this mission could be their last. The stakes were higher than they had ever been before. Yet despite the fear that clung to each crew member, they were all in agreement. This mission had to be done. Earth had been pushed too far, and there was no turning back now. In the quiet moments before the battle, Ethan stood alone in his quarters. The lights in the room were dim, casting long shadows on the walls. He walked over to a small desk where a picture frame sat, showing a photo of him and his dog, Max. The picture was taken years ago, on a bright summer day before the war started. Max had been by his side through thick and thin, a loyal companion who had never once faltered. Ethan's heart ached as he thought about the night Max was taken. The helplessness he felt as he watched his dog vanish into the night sky haunted him. He ran a hand over the frame, and for a brief moment, the weight of the mission hit him with full force. This was more than just about defeating an alien empire. This was personal. Max wasn't just a pet. He was family. And that was something the Galactic Empire would never understand. Ethan clenched his jaw, a fire igniting within him. He wasn't going to let them get away with this. Not now. Not ever. He turned away from the picture, taking a deep breath to steady himself. His crew needed him now more than ever. If they were to have any chance of success, he had to remain strong. Not just for Max, but for everyone on board the Retribution, for all the families that had lost their pets, for humanity itself. He wasn't just fighting for his dog. He was fighting for the very essence of humanity. In the command center, Ethan gathered his team. He looked around at the faces of his crew, each one reflecting a different level of fear, determination, and resolve. They all knew the stakes, and they all understood the gravity of the mission. This was the point of no return. There was no safe place anymore, no way to back down. Earth had declared war on the Galactic Empire, and now it was time to show them exactly what humanity was capable of. "Listen up," Ethan said, his voice carrying through the room. "This mission is dangerous. We don't know what we're going to face once we enter their territory. But I'm telling you right now, we're not walking into a trap. We're walking into the Empire's heart, and we're going to tear it apart." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We're doing this for Earth, for our families, for our pets. We are human. And no one takes what's ours without paying the price." His words sparked a fire in the crew. They nodded, some clenching their fists in silent determination. The crew of the Retribution might have been outnumbered, but they were not without heart. Their loyalty to each other, to their planet, and to the memory of their stolen pets was stronger than any force the Empire could throw at them. As the countdown to launch began, Ethan couldn't help but glance back at the picture of Max one last time. The face of his loyal dog, staring back at him from the photo, reminded him of everything he had to fight for. This mission wasn't just about military strategy. It was about the deep emotional bond between humans and their pets, the love and loyalty that had driven them to the edge of the galaxy in search of justice. The ship's engines roared to life, and the Retribution began to move toward the unknown. The crew worked swiftly, ensuring every system was functioning perfectly, every weapon was ready, and every maneuver was mapped out. The course was set. They were heading straight for the heart of the Galactic Empire. The first few minutes of their journey were quiet. The ship was cloaked, hidden from the Empire's sensors, as they silently moved through the vastness of space. Yet, despite the silence, there was a growing sense of anticipation aboard the Retribution. Everyone knew the moment they dropped their cloak, the battle would begin. The crew was ready, but was Earth's greatest weapon ready for what lay ahead? Ethan stared out into the abyss of space, feeling a sense of both fear and resolve. This mission was more than just about saving pets. It was a fight for humanity's place in the galaxy. For too long, Earth had been seen as weak. For too long, humans had been underestimated. The Galactic Empire had made a fatal mistake when they abducted Earth's pets. Now, Earth was coming for them, and the universe would soon know the power of humanity's rage. The Retribution was moving forward, and with it, Earth's hope. The hum of the Retribution's engines filled the command center as the ship moved deeper into the vast expanse of Galactic Empire territory. A sense of calm had settled over the crew, but beneath it, a current of tension flowed. They were about to cross into enemy space, a place no human warship had ever dared to enter before. The stakes were higher than ever, and the danger was imminent. Commander Ethan Drake stood at the front of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of their surroundings. The vastness of space stretched out before them, but within that emptiness, the crew knew the enemy waited. They were heading directly into the heart of the Galactic Empire's domain, a place where humanity's presence was nothing but a blip on the radar of the Empire's vast power. No one knew what lay ahead, but one thing was clear: the Retribution was Earth's last hope. The crew was tense, their hands moving swiftly over controls as they navigated through a maze of asteroids and debris. The ship was cloaked, invisible to the Empire's radar, but the cloaking technology, though impressive, couldn't protect them from everything. They had to stay alert, constantly scanning for any signs of Empire ships. It wouldn't be long before the enemy realized they had entered their territory. Suddenly, the quiet was shattered by a loud alarm. Enemy scouts detected. One of the crew members called out, his voice tense. "They're on an intercept course." Ethan's heart raced, but he didn't flinch. The time for hesitation had passed. He barked orders to the crew, his voice commanding. "Activate the countermeasures. We need to move now." The Retribution surged forward, its advanced AI instantly calculating their best course of action. The cloaking device hummed as the ship shimmered and vanished from the enemy sensors. But the Empire's scouts were fast, and they quickly adjusted their tactics. Ethan could see their ships closing in, their engines glowing bright against the cold, dark backdrop of space. "Brace for impact," Ethan shouted. In a split second, the Retribution lurched, dodging the first laser barrage from the enemy ships. The AI on board worked in perfect harmony with the crew, making split-second decisions and executing them with flawless precision. The crew had been trained for this, but in the face of the Empire's superior technology, every decision felt like a gamble. "Activate evasive maneuvers," Ethan ordered as the Empire's scouts continued their relentless pursuit. The warship tilted and spun, narrowly avoiding another round of blinding laser fire. The ship was fast, but the Empire's ships were faster. They needed to think quickly. One wrong move could mean the end of their mission and their lives. "We can't keep running forever," said Lieutenant Harper, a seasoned veteran, as she watched the screen. "We need to turn the tables on them." "Hold steady," Ethan commanded. "Get ready to deploy the EMP device. We'll disable their tracking systems, then make our move." As the Retribution powered through the battle, the tension on board was palpable. The crew fought with everything they had. The ship's engines roared as they powered through another barrage of enemy fire, narrowly dodging the incoming blasts. The Empire's ships were relentless, their guns flashing with each attack, but the Retribution was faster, more nimble, thanks to its cloaking technology and AI. The moments felt like hours, but finally, Ethan gave the order. "Deploy EMP now." The blast shot out from the Retribution's weapons array, a bright pulse of energy that tore through the vastness of space. The Empire's scouts, caught off guard, lost their lock on the warship. Their systems flickered, their weapons systems offline for precious seconds. It was all the time the Retribution needed. "Now," Ethan shouted. With a final burst of speed, the Retribution shot forward, darting through the ranks of the Empire's scouts, leaving them trailing in their wake. The crew cheered as they escaped the immediate threat, but there was no time to relax. The Empire would send reinforcements, and they had to keep moving. "We're not safe yet," Ethan muttered, staring at the dark expanse ahead. "Stay sharp. We're heading deeper into their territory." As the Retribution moved deeper into enemy space, the crew began to feel the weight of their mission. They had evaded one attack, but they knew that the real challenge lay ahead. The heart of the Galactic Empire, where their stolen pets were being held, was still miles away. They had to stay focused if they were to succeed. But the battle wasn't over yet. As they neared the edge of a dense asteroid field, another alarm rang out. This time, it wasn't scouts. It was the Empire's main fleet. They were coming, and they were coming fast. Ethan's grip tightened on the armrest of his seat. "Prepare for full combat. We're about to face the real fight." The main fleet of the Empire emerged from behind a cluster of asteroids, their enormous warships gleaming with advanced weaponry. The Retribution was a formidable opponent, but it was small compared to the massive warships that loomed before them. Ethan's crew worked quickly to adjust the ship's shields and weapon systems. This was a battle they couldn't run from. The first volley of laser fire came from the Empire's flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed the Retribution. Ethan shouted orders as the crew fired back, their weapons firing with deadly precision. The battle was chaotic. Lasers streaked across the sky. Explosions echoed through the vastness of space, and the hum of the Retribution's engines roared as they weaved through the enemy fire. The Retribution was quick and agile, but the Empire's warships were relentless. They fought with ruthless efficiency, their weapons tearing through the dark void of space. But the crew of the Retribution wasn't backing down. They fought back with every ounce of strength they had, using their ship's speed and cloaking technology to stay one step ahead. Then, as if things couldn't get worse, the Retribution took a hit. The ship rocked violently, and the lights flickered. Red alarms blared as systems started to fail. The crew scrambled to maintain control, but the damage was severe. One of the engines was offline, and the ship was losing power. "We're not going to make it if we don't get that engine back online," shouted Lieutenant Harper. Ethan didn't hesitate. "Get to the engine room. Fix it, now." While the crew fought to keep the ship intact, Ethan's mind was already moving forward. He knew they couldn't afford to stop, not when they were so close. As the crew worked tirelessly to repair the engine, Ethan's thoughts turned to his fallen comrade, Bonner. Bonner had been killed in the ambush just moments earlier. He had sacrificed himself to protect the rest of the crew, and his death weighed heavily on Ethan's heart. But there was no time to mourn. Bonner's sacrifice would not be in vain. They would finish what they had started. "Bonner's death isn't for nothing," Ethan said, his voice firm as he addressed the crew. "We carry his spirit with us. We fight for him. We fight for everyone who's been taken, and we won't stop until we get our people back." With the engine repaired and the crew back in action, the Retribution surged forward once more. They were not done yet. The fight was just beginning, and they would keep pushing forward, no matter the cost. The crew of the Retribution had entered Galactic Empire space to reclaim their stolen pets, but along the way, they had found something more powerful: the will to fight. Against all odds, humanity had proved that they would never back down, never surrender, and never give up. Their journey had only just begun, and the Empire would soon learn the true power of Earth's resolve. The Retribution hurtled through space toward the Empire's flagship, a massive warship so large that it seemed to dwarf everything around it. As they approached, Ethan and his crew could see the sheer scale of the enemy's power. The flagship was surrounded by a fleet of the Empire's best ships, each one bristling with weapons and ready for a fight. The odds were overwhelming. The Retribution was just a single ship against an entire armada, but Ethan and his crew were determined to succeed. The stakes had never been higher. The pets they had come to rescue were still in the hands of the Empire, and it was time to end this once and for all. The first salvo of laser fire came as they neared the flagship. Red beams of light ripped through the black void of space, narrowly missing the Retribution as it swerved to avoid the attack. Ethan's pulse quickened as the crew scrambled to respond. They had been training for this moment for months, but nothing could truly prepare them for the reality of the battle. "Brace yourselves," Ethan shouted over the roar of the ship's engines. "Prepare for impact." The sound of laser blasts pounding against the Retribution's shields was deafening, but the ship held firm. The crew was still intact, and the warship was still moving forward, although they were outgunned and outnumbered. But the crew didn't falter. The fight had only just begun. Laser beams lit up the black expanse of space as the humans fought desperately to keep the Empire's fleet at bay. The Empire's ships came at them in waves, their enormous guns firing relentlessly. Yet despite the overwhelming numbers and superior firepower of the Empire, Ethan and his team held their ground, each member of the crew fighting with everything they had. "We need to take out their heavy weapons," Lieutenant Harper shouted, her fingers dancing over the controls. We can't win this if we're just on the defensive. Ethan nodded, his face set in determination. All hands, prepare for orbital bombardment. We'll hit them where it hurts. With a single command, the Retribution launched a barrage of heavy weapons into the skies above the Empire's capital. The explosions were massive, lighting up the surrounding space in a fiery spectacle. The Empire's warships took heavy damage, their shields buckling under the force of the attack. For a moment, it looked like the Empire's forces might be shaken. But then, the flagship fired back. The shots were powerful enough to rip through the shields of the Retribution, shaking the ship to its core. The crew held on as the ship rocked violently, alarms blaring. The pain of the moment was real, but they didn't give up. Each crew member was focused on their task, determined to press forward. "Get those shields back up," Ethan ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Harper's fingers flew across the controls, the ship's systems flickering and sparking as she worked to bring them back online. The Retribution was still functional, but barely. They had no choice now. They had to push forward and finish what they started. In the chaos of the battle, the crew fought not just for survival, but for the future of humanity. This was their moment to show the Empire just how wrong they were to underestimate Earth. The Empire had thought they could simply crush the humans, but they had underestimated the power of human resilience. Each human on board the Retribution knew that they weren't just fighting for victory. They were fighting for the lives of their loved ones, the freedom of their people, and the chance to prove to the galaxy that Earth was not to be dismissed. The battle raged on, and the Retribution continued to dodge enemy fire, its cloaking technology keeping them hidden just long enough to get a few strikes in. But it wasn't enough. The flagship was still out of reach, its shields nearly invincible and its weapons unmatched. The crew needed a plan, a way to take down the enemy and rescue the pets without being completely wiped out in the process. In the midst of the chaos, Ethan's mind raced. There had to be a weakness. The Retribution couldn't take another direct hit. If they didn't come up with something fast, they were going to lose everything. Then it hit him. There was a weakness, an opening. The Empire had made one critical error in their battle strategy. The flagship's engines were positioned in a way that, if disabled, would cause the ship to drift uncontrollably. The Empire's fleet was focusing too heavily on the attack, leaving the flagship vulnerable. If they could disable its engines, the flagship would be at their mercy. "We can do this," Ethan muttered to himself, a surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins. He turned to his crew. "I've got a plan. It's risky, but it's our only shot." Harper raised an eyebrow. "What's the plan, sir?" "We disable the flagship's engines," Ethan said, his voice low but full of determination. "We need to hit them where it hurts and do it fast." The crew nodded, their faces set in grim resolve. They had been fighting for so long, but now they had to take the fight to the heart of the Empire. If they could disable a flagship, it would be a huge blow to the Empire's forces, and it might just turn the tide of the battle in their favor. With a sudden burst of speed, the Retribution darted toward the flagship. The crew worked in perfect synchrony, coordinating their attacks with precision. They launched a powerful series of torpedoes directly at the flagship's engines, the explosions lighting up the space around them. The shockwave from the blast rocked the Retribution, but they held on. For a moment, nothing happened. The flagship was still firing, still alive. But then, slowly, the flagship's movements began to slow. Its engines were offline, its massive bulk drifting helplessly in space. The Empire's forces had been caught off guard, and they had no idea how to respond. "Direct hit," Harper shouted. "The flagship's drifting." The battle changed in an instant. With the flagship disabled, the Empire's fleet was thrown into chaos. The coordinated attacks from the Retribution had done what no one thought possible. The underdogs, the humans, had struck at the heart of the Empire. But the battle wasn't over yet. The flagship may have been disabled, but the Empire's forces were still overwhelming. The crew of the Retribution fought with everything they had, determined to make this victory count. They pushed forward, using their speed and agility to take down the remaining ships one by one. The Empire was reeling, caught off guard by the sudden shift in the battle's momentum. And then, as the flagship drifted helplessly toward a nearby black hole, it was clear. This was the end. The last remnants of the Empire's fleet were in disarray, and victory was finally within reach. "Now," Ethan said, his voice full of resolve, "we finish this." With one final push, the Empire's fleet was crushed. The flagship was lost to the black hole, and the remaining forces scattered. The crew of the Retribution had done it. They had taken on the might of the Galactic Empire, and against all odds, they had won. The battle was over, and humanity had proven, once and for all, that they were not to be underestimated. The Empire had learned the hard way that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans would never back down. They had fought for their freedom, their loved ones, and for the very survival of their people. And in the end, they had emerged victorious. The battle was over, but the mission wasn't complete. The Galactic Empire's forces were in disarray, their flagship disabled and drifting toward the black hole. The Retribution had delivered the decisive blow to their enemies, but there was one final task to accomplish: rescuing the pets. The crew of the Retribution had come for their loved ones, and now they would stop at nothing to bring them home. Ethan stood on the bridge of the Warship, looking out at the damaged fleet. The battle had been long and hard, but it had been worth it. Still, the image of Max, his loyal dog, trapped in one of the Empire's cages, haunted him. He had promised his crew that they would bring the pets back. Now he was determined to keep that promise. "We're going in," Ethan said firmly, turning toward his team. "Prepare for a ground assault." The crew moved quickly, preparing for the next phase of the mission. Ethan's heart pounded as he suited up. He wasn't sure what they would face on the flagship, but he knew one thing for sure: they were getting the pets back, no matter what. His personal connection to Max and the other animals made this mission all the more urgent. Humanity's bond with their pets had been tested in the heat of battle, but it was this love that fueled their determination to win. The ground assault team, led by Ethan, descended toward the Empire's flagship. The ship was huge, its cold metallic walls filled with enemies. The crew's objective was clear: infiltrate the ship, find the pets, and get them out of there. Time was of the essence, and they had to move fast. As they neared the surface, the team kept their weapons ready. They had been trained for this moment, but nothing could prepare them for the sights they would face once they boarded the flagship. The corridors of the Empire's ship were eerily quiet, but Ethan and his team knew the Empire was never far behind. They moved swiftly, weapons at the ready, navigating through the dark, narrow hallways. The silence was broken by the sound of heavy boots, the unmistakable clattering of soldiers coming toward them. The team crouched, preparing to engage. They had to clear a path before they could locate the cages where the pets were held. The sound of gunfire echoed through the ship as the team fought their way deeper into enemy territory. The Empire's soldiers, though technologically superior, were no match for the humans' grit and determination. The high-tech weaponry the Retribution had equipped them with was a force to be reckoned with, allowing the crew to overpower their enemies with surprising ease. "Keep moving forward," Ethan shouted, urging his team on. "We need to find those pets." After several tense minutes of clearing rooms and eliminating enemy soldiers, the team finally reached the holding area where the pets were kept. The sight before them was heartbreaking. Cages lined the walls, each one holding a different animal. Some were calm, while others were clearly frightened and agitated. Ethan's heart skipped a beat as he spotted Max, the loyal dog he had raised from a pup. The dog's eyes locked with his, and for a moment, it was as though the rest of the world had faded away. Max was alive. He was safe. "Ethan," Harper called, snapping him back to reality. "We've got more company. We need to get out of here, now." But Ethan couldn't tear himself away from Max. He rushed forward, unlocking the cage and pulling the dog into his arms. Max licked his face, tail wagging wildly. It was a simple, pure moment of joy amid the chaos. The bond between a human and their pet was powerful, and this reunion was a symbol of everything the crew had fought for. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the love they had for those they cared about. This mission wasn't just about taking down an empire. It was about ensuring that the love for their pets and loved ones would always endure. "We're not leaving anyone behind," Ethan said, his voice tight with emotion. "Let's get everyone out of here." The team worked quickly, unlocking the cages and leading the pets to safety. But their escape was not without resistance. As they tried to make their way out of the flagship, they were met with heavy opposition. The Empire's soldiers had regrouped and were determined to stop them. Gunfire erupted again, and the humans fought fiercely to defend the animals they had worked so hard to rescue. "Fall back," Ethan ordered. "Get to the extraction point." With Max in his arms and the other pets safely in tow, Ethan led the way. The team fought their way back through the ship's corridors, dodging enemy fire and taking down soldiers as they went. The high-tech weapons they carried allowed them to strike with precision, but it was their courage and teamwork that kept them moving forward. No matter the cost, they would not let the Empire win this time. As they neared the exit, the sound of reinforcements echoing through the hallways grew louder. They were almost there, but the final showdown was still ahead. With one last burst of energy, the crew fought their way out of the flagship and into the waiting shuttle that would carry them back to the Retribution. The escape was a close call, but they made it. The shuttle soared into the sky, narrowly escaping the Empire's final assault. Ethan glanced around at his crew, all of them exhausted but victorious. The mission had been a success. They had rescued the pets, taken down the Empire, and proven that humanity would not be silenced. The emotional reunion with Max was a turning point for Ethan. It reminded him of why they had fought so hard, of the deep connections that defined humanity's strength. The love they had for their pets was something the Empire could never understand. While they had the power to destroy, the humans had the power of love and loyalty. As the Retribution made its way back to Earth, the crew looked out at the stars, knowing that they had accomplished something extraordinary. They had taken down the most powerful empire in the galaxy and saved the lives of the creatures they loved. The victory was sweet, but it wasn't just about the defeat of the Empire. It was about proving that humanity's capacity for love, resilience, and courage could overcome any challenge. "Welcome home," Ethan said softly, looking at his team and the rescued animals. "We did it." The crew of the Retribution returned to Earth as heroes, their victory a symbol of humanity's unwavering spirit. They had struck a devastating blow to the Galactic Empire, but more than that, they had demonstrated that no matter how great the challenge, humanity would always fight for those they loved. It was this strength, this love, that would ensure their survival in the galaxy for generations to come. The journey had been long and difficult, filled with moments of doubt and fear. But now, as the Retribution sailed back toward Earth, the crew could finally breathe a sigh of relief. They had defeated the Galactic Empire, rescued the pets, and proven to the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. As the Retribution descended through Earth's atmosphere, the crew looked out at the planet they had fought so hard to protect. The once bleak skies now shimmered with the light of a new day. Humanity had not only survived but triumphed over the most powerful empire the galaxy had ever known. For the first time in history, the Galactic Empire had been humbled. Back on Earth, the news of their victory spread like wildfire. The world was in a frenzy of celebration. People from every corner of the globe gathered to welcome the crew home. Crowds cheered as the Retribution touched down, and the pets were reunited with their families. The sight of loved ones embracing their furry companions after such an ordeal was a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It wasn't just a victory for Earth, it was a victory for all who had suffered under tyranny. Ethan stood at the foot of the ship, his heart swelling with pride as the animals were returned to their rightful owners. It was a moment of pure joy, but it also carried with it a heavy weight. The battle had taken its toll, and the crew was exhausted. Many of them had lost friends along the way, and the scars of war were evident. Yet, in the midst of it all, there was a sense of accomplishment that could not be denied. They had done the impossible. As Ethan made his way through the crowd, a media team surrounded him. Flashbulbs popped, microphones were thrust into his face, and the world's attention was squarely on him. He had become a hero, someone whose name would go down in history. But even as the cameras flashed, Ethan felt a sense of humility. He hadn't fought for fame or glory. He had fought for something much more important: love, loyalty, and the belief that no force in the galaxy could break humanity's spirit. Later that evening, Ethan stood on a stage, facing a global audience. The world was watching, eager to hear the words of the man who had led them to victory. His crew stood behind him, some with smiles on their faces, others with somber expressions, remembering those they had lost. Ethan cleared his throat and began to speak, his voice steady and filled with conviction. "This victory wasn't just for us," he said, his eyes scanning the crowd. "It wasn't just for Earth. It was for every species that has ever suffered under the boot of tyranny. We fought not only for our own survival, but for the survival of those who cannot fight for themselves." He paused for a moment, allowing his words to sink in. The audience remained silent, hanging on every word. "The Galactic Empire thought they could crush us," Ethan continued, his voice growing stronger. "They thought their technology made them unstoppable, that we were nothing more than ants beneath their boot. But they underestimated one thing: humanity's spirit. They underestimated our will to fight, to protect the things we love. They didn't count on the strength of our bonds. And that, my friends, is what led us to victory." A wave of applause rippled through the crowd, but Ethan held up his hand, urging them to listen. "Our journey wasn't easy. We lost good people along the way, but we never gave up. We didn't stop fighting, because we knew that the lives we fought for, our families, our pets, our future, were worth every sacrifice. And that's a message we should never forget. No matter how powerful an enemy is, no matter how impossible the odds seem, we will always fight for those we love." Ethan's words resonated with the people of Earth. They had witnessed firsthand what the humans had accomplished. The battle wasn't just about winning. It was about standing up for what was right, even when it seemed impossible. The message was clear: humanity would never back down, no matter the challenge. As Ethan finished his speech, the crowd erupted in cheers, chanting his name. He smiled, feeling a sense of pride and relief wash over him. It was over, and humanity had won. But even more than that, they had shown the galaxy that love and loyalty were more powerful than any weapon the Empire could wield. The crew of the Retribution stood together, a united front. They had been through so much together, facing down impossible odds, losing comrades and enduring unimaginable hardships. But in the end, they had come out on top. They had proven that no matter how technologically advanced or powerful their enemies were, humanity's heart would always prevail. As the sun set over Earth, casting a warm glow over the scene, Ethan looked up at the stars. The universe had been forever changed. The Galactic Empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, had been humbled. And Earth, humanity, had emerged victorious. The message had been sent: no one would ever again underestimate the power of the human spirit. With Max by his side, Ethan reflected on everything they had accomplished. This victory was more than just a battle won. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience. It was proof that no matter how dark the times, no matter how daunting the enemy, humanity would always rise. Their love for each other, their loyalty, and their determination would always light the way. As the Retribution took off into the sky, ready for its next mission, Ethan knew that the fight for freedom and justice was far from over. There were still battles to be fought, other tyrannies to be overthrown, but humanity had shown that they were ready. They had proven to the galaxy, and to themselves, that they were a force to be reckoned with. "We'll keep fighting," Ethan whispered to himself, his voice filled with quiet determination. "For Earth, for our loved ones, and for the future." And with that, the crew of the Retribution set off into the stars once more, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their victory had sent a message to the galaxy, but their journey was far from over. They had proven that humanity's strength came not from their technology, but from their hearts, and that would always be their greatest weapon.